Okay, this is the College Prep English class at Excellence in Education, and we've just had a test. That's why we're starting a little late, and we're going to do the rest of the test orally with everybody writing their answers down. Has everybody written answers down for this first one?
No.
Okay. When we're looking at these, we haven't done a lot of this analysis yet. What we need to do is feel the rhythm. So, still she haunts me phantom-wise, Alice moving under skies never seen by waking eyes.
I'm gonna write down what I think.
Okay.
I mean,
What I
are
thought
we?
doesn't really make sense because it's
Yeah, that-
Are we going to share our answers
Well,
right now? Or?
You write them down first, and then we'll determine whether they're right or not. But firstly, we have to be able to look at that text and understand what the emphasis is in it, how the rhythm works. So when we look at that, still she wants me phantom-wise, da 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 da, right? That can't be anything else. So it starts with accented syllable, unaccented, accented, unaccented, da 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 da. How many feet? Da 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 da. Four. Okay. So if it's accented, unaccented, and 4 feet long, write it down. Okay, everybody got that?
yeah,
Wait.
Okay, what do you call a foot that is accented, unaccented?
trochee.
Trochee, exactly right.
Trochee.
And so the line length is how many feet?
4.
4, and what do you call a line?
Tetrameter.
Tetrameter.
Tetrameter. So it's trochaic tetrameter, right?
Yes.
Give yourself points if that's what you got. Notice here also that we have 3 lines rhymed together. There's a name for that. You already did the part up above there. 2 lines was what?
Couplet.
Right, and 3 is
It's like a tercet.
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 Very good. And 4 lines. 4 lines?
4 lines. Quatret.
Quatrain. Excellent, excellent. You've got it figured out. Next one here. This looks like it's actually shorter lines than the previous one, but listen to it. Prodigious birth of love it is to me that I must love a loathed enemy. Think about that. It's not the same as da 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 da. It's da 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 da, right? So we've got da 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 da, and how many in a line? Da 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 da. Ta da ta da ta da ta da ta da.
Yes.
Okay, write it down. Okay, so what kind of foot are these?
Iambic.
I put
Iambic,
iambic
yeah.
and pentameter.
Excellent.
Same.
Iambic pentameter. In fact, when you're looking at Shakespeare, iambic pentameter is a pretty good guess. There are exceptions.
Most of the time it happens to be.
Okay, so give yourself credit for that if you got it. Now, here's a different one. You may recognize where this one comes. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky. Da da da, 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 da da da. What is da da da? What kind of foot is that?
Anapest.
Yeah.
Good for you, good for you. And how many in the line?
3.
Try again. As dry leaves
Yeah, I was
that
thinking.
before the wild hurricane fly. Okay, so that makes it
4.
Yeah. that's
Oh.
what I was saying.
Anapestic
Tetrameter.
Yeah,
tetrameter. Excellent. Okay. Did my heart love till now forswear its sight? For I ne'er saw true beauty till this night. You know these. You've been reading this, or you've been listening to it. So, where does that come from? Did my heart love till now
Oh,
forswear
um,
its sight?
Romeo and Juliet.
Very good. So it's probably
Iambic pentameter.
very good. Okay. Mark it down if you got it right. Next one. A hint. This takes a while to find something that's in this particular rhythm. Half the league, half the league, half the league onward, forward, the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. It's actually somewhat edited, but so it's da 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 da.
Is that dactylic?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Write it down. Good. Okay, and so it's dactylic with dot 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 dot. So dactylic
Tetrameter.
tetrameter. Excellent. Now, we don't always have something as clear as those. Sometimes you got an extra syllable here and there. Sometimes you're missing one. But in a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat and I saw him sway. So this is a combination, isn't it?
I think so.
Da 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 da
Yeah.
da.
Is it anapest and trochee?
Mm-hmm.
Anapest and iambic.
I think anapest and iambic.
Oh, iambic.
works better.
Oh yeah.
Then he clutched the keys with his talon hands. My God, that man could play. This is from a poem that you folks might appreciate if you wanted to. Okay, ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
You are old, Father.
Do we go over the feet of the line?
I'm sorry?
Do we go over the feet of the line?
Okay, yeah, the feet of the line, we decided on that one. That was anapestic and
Iambic.
iambic.
Well, I mean
The number of feet in the
Yeah.
line? Yeah, tetrameter.
Mm-hmm. So,
Okay, next one. You are old, Father William, and your jaws are too weak. Da 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 da.
Anapest.
mm-hmm.
Very good, very good. To chew anything thicker than suet, yet you swallowed a goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, no, in my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. That's the stanza that follows this one. Okay. Now this one you know too, because we've studied it. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December. So it's going to be da, 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 da.
So trochee.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good.
Trochee and then.
You're right, it's 4. Yeah.
So trochee
Yep.
and tetrameter.
We would call it trochaic tetrameter.
Trochaic.
Yeah, the trochee is the noun, that's the specific syllable. Trochaic is the adjectival form. Okay, here's an interesting. Made nests inside men's Sunday hats and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. That's a poem that's worth looking at too, if anybody's interested. Does anybody know what it is?
No clue. What is it?
You don't know what we're talking about here when we talk about made nests inside men's Sunday hats? It's all about rats.
Mm. Oh,
Oh yeah. The third line.
Okay, so what have we got here? You all got something written down, everybody?
No.
Ta-da, 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 ta-da.
Yes. Trochaic.
Right.
how many feet? I think that's like.
Also, tetrameter.
Absolutely. Everybody got that. Next one, it's got a few extra syllables here and there. Under the wide and starry sky, dig the grave and let me lie. Glad did I live and gladly die, and I lay me down with a will. This be the verse you graved for me. Here he lies where he longed to be. Home is the sailor, home from sea, and the hunter home from the hill. It's a remarkable piece of writing. So it's got da, 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 da. Okay, everybody got it down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what type of foot is it?
Trochaic.
Right? And the number of,
Also a tetrameter.
absolutely. I had to give you both quatrains here because
Mhm.
that rhyme doesn't work without having the second quatrain. It's got
Yeah.
a rhyme that goes across from one quatrain to the next. Excellent. So everybody got the second half of that. So
Yeah.
completely right. Everybody got the first half right?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Put your scores down on
The second
on
half
the-
completely right, you said?
Well,
No.
you got it right enough.
Just the
Okay.
couple
Are they
half
each worth
points
1
off.
point?
Yeah, they each with 1 or 2. Or...
Wait, yeah, because I put -1/2.
Oh,
I
what's-
think 1 point. for each.
2.5.
Oh,
I just think. Yeah, 1 point for each.
yeah.
Go ahead and put it down. We'll round it.
Okay.
Okay, and please make sure that I get copies of the test we did last week so that we can provide these. Okay, any questions at all on these?
Nope.
Would you like an assignment involving go out and find some poetry and bring it in and analyze it?
Okay.
That's up to you. That's just a suggested possible project that you may decide to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take ourselves back to our agenda. Okay, I want to talk to you about this class here, by the way. I think you have all received an invitation to it. If you have time after class today, I can show you something about how to put Python on your machines. I did suggest anybody who wanted to may bring a computer and we could do that. And nobody did they?
Oh,
Okay.
wait, we are supposed to bring one in?
Only if you wanted to. The thing is that we just need to set up the environment, and I thought you might like to have that. But
Okay.
you can do that on your own. It's very easy to do. And I have that here in this link, installing Python. This you should all have received an announcement from this page, right?
Which page? The Python page?
The computer programming class. This is a
Yes.
different classroom.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
new page.
Okay,
I don't know if it's received it.
Well, it's on the dashboard. That's where I found it.
Okay. Yeah, I found some fascinating things and thought I'd demonstrate a few things today. Is there anybody who can stay a little into the next class?
How much longer?
Yeah, I don't know.
How much longer?
Okay. Well, this is a question actually for the class in general. It's going to take place starting at 4 or a little thereafter.
Mhm.
And how many people would like to do something in that class? That's going to be when it would take place.
The computer class?
Yeah.
And what will
I
we?
think it'd be.
Okay. Yeah, there are all kinds of wonderful things we're going to do. What I'd like to do at some point is just show you what sort of wonderful things we can be doing. And among other things, we'll cover some math, but we'll cover math in a way that I think everybody will enjoy it. And it basically math to the level of what you'd need on the SAT or the Chesapeake or any of those exams would cover. So, okay, let's go on to some other things here. Let's find our agenda page. Did I lose the agenda page? Where is it? Here we are. Here's our agenda, and of course, poetic devices test we just did, and analysis of poems and scansion. I added another one here to the bottom of this one. Tell me what that is. 'Tis all a checkerboard of nights and days, where destiny with men for pieces plays. Hither and thither moves, and mates and slays. One by one back in the closet plays. Anybody know where that one comes from?
Oh, Shakespeare?
It's not,
It's
no.
not.
We might look at that too at some point if you're interested. It's called the Rubaiyat by Omar Khayyam. This was one of a number of translations. This one is by Fitzgerald. There are a number of other very good ones.
I'm guessing that's dactylic.
That's it.
Well, 'tis all a checkerboard of nights and days. What do you think?
So, then trochaic.
Da 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 da
Iambic?
Iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion of submitted projects. Let's go and look at. We've got a big one here.
Yes, Brian, I saw that. How long did it take for you to put that together? What is that?
A little bit.
1,300 words?
Oh, wow.
I didn't mind. Mine was only 600.
This is important. It's important to realize that you can sit down and produce something in that quantity. It's not a big deal. You get used to it. You can produce it comfortably, and I'm so glad to see that happening. There are a lot of little things that I would want to suggest about it. I mentioned only mechanical things here in the discussion itself, but one of the things I would have liked to see is specific examples, perhaps, of how the technology has changed the art form. And I'm not sure exactly how one would describe that, but you talk about it without being specific. And it would be nice to see that. And also, I find it very interesting in your work that the first paragraph requires so much work, and then it starts to even out and starts to be to improve as you go along. And so after a while, there's not that much to say. So, okay, so let's just look at this. One of the important things, of course, is use the right word. If you can find the right word. And the points I made here: watch for repetition, Massive is a perfectly fine word, but you can't use it more than once. You've got to find something else for it. Avoid fragments. You do have a fragment or two in there, and you even have a couple of subject-verb agreement problems. Also, references. You have parenthesized the references. Now, normally the parenthetic reference is going to be the author's name of a work that appears in the end
or
notes.
website or whatever. Book.
Right. Now, if it's a website, it has to be done a certain way. If it's and all of this can be done by formula and by machine. You don't have to worry about it. But it would be a good idea to do it that way. Okay, and the modern mind-boggling music industry, nice alliteration. An industry that harbors a grand total of 168 billion. You don't harbor dollars. You don't harbor. So garner, generate, reaps.
Harvest.
Very possibly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be good. Okay. That shouldn't go without acknowledgement. Well, that works, but how about go unregarded or unacknowledged, I suggest. Okay. While that number surely is something to be seriously intrigued by, is it not? The however here doesn't work because you've already got a while. So while it's something to be seriously intrigued by, is it not? The most interesting fact about the industry, and here we've got the subject-verb mismatch. You've got facts, plural, but industry is. The most interesting facts about the industry is, that doesn't work. Okay, and the background that utterly fostered and shaped. And this is where I was asking, how did it shape it? The industry shaped the music industry currently operates, how the music industry currently operates. And so I threw that in there. To how it didn't work. The music industry to how it currently operates, I just thought was weak. Some of these broad changes over the years had a huge change. They perhaps inspired a huge change. They caused a huge change, but they had a huge effect. It just stick in your ear and see how it comes out on the masses, and gave people new ways of listening to music. This absolutely massive, I suggest, there's so many other good words for that. Immense works fine. Change that influenced the music industry and all who are consumers of its massive, how about prodigious, music selection. Okay, and major influence of advancing technologies made the transition a big deal. Oh, okay, let's read that whole thing so we get the triplet we're talking about. Was the transition of analog music to digital music, the creation, production, and major influence of advancing technologies. That's nice. That works well. Okay, this major difference in technology, I think shift in technology works better than difference.
Yeah, and is that a quote? I see
I'm sorry?
a quote.
Oh, yeah, what is that
Yeah.
quote there for? Good point, I didn't notice it.
Because if it's a quote, then
I think it was at the previous paragraph, but it got shifted.
There's an end quote here. I
yeah.
don't know.
So if it's a quote, if you're quoting,
Anyway, yeah, I thought shift
okay,
would
yeah, that looks like it looked good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, I'm pretty sure.
Who
it was
are
out
you
there.
quoting
Okay,
from?
so if this is quoting
It's,
from somewhere
the-
else, you're not allowed to go in and change it then.
Yeah.
Okay, how music has changed more recently is the way music is created and produced. There's a carriage return for some reason, I don't know. As a whole, music created and produced today is far more different. Far more different really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You can say that here's a difference and there's a difference. This is far more different. That's okay, but that's only if we're comparing two differences. If we're saying that it's very different, then we are only comparing two things rather than two differences. Okay, let's see. Vastly different from the music. Okay, the other one, we've got massive amounts of people. Amounts only works if you've got shovelfuls of barrels or something like that. You see what I mean? We're
Yeah.
talking people, so it's numbers of people. Comma
Bodies.
necessary there. Take the message out of the lines. I thought we needed plural there. Or too literally and take action upon what they hear. The result of this may consist of breaking laws. I suggest that this may result in breaking laws. I just think it works a good deal better than that. And we've got another massive here. This time I suggested colossal.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's easy to find those words,
Yeah.
and you get used to looking those up in a.
There's many other words to use.
I'm sorry.
There's many other words to use.
Oh yeah, lots of them, and get used to using the thesaurus, not just in order to solve this kind of problem, but because if you look up the word massive and you see this long string of words, you may see a word or two in there you don't know. Click on it, find out what that one is, add it to your vocabulary list.
Yeah, I tend to have this trouble too. I use these common words, so I just Google the definition and I find some synonyms and alternatives.
Right. You'll find actually when you're writing poetry, and I haven't seen anybody hand in any poetry this year yet, that a thesaurus will help you even more than a rhyming dictionary will. When you have a particular space to fill, and it's got to be a trochaic word, for example, and you know what the meaning you're looking for, go into thesaurus and see if you can look for the meaning and see if one of those words in there will fit the scansion that you're trying to fit it into. Okay, to the extent, amount tends to be used so often, it really doesn't. Got another massive here. Massive and unfathomable amounts, I thought extents. Grow to, yeah, you don't grow to an amount, you grow to an extent. Okay, little commas and things like this. My suggestion on this one, as before, is please go through and practice these changes. Make sure you understand what they are. For the most part, I think much of what I'm finding here is material you would be able to find yourself. This was needed, I think, until the 1950s. That's something electrifyingly new. Molded the music industry to change forever. Do you mold something to change? I suggested molded it, causing it to change. It just, I thought it worked a little better there. Okay. And nice material here where you see an exclamation point. We had a problem here. I'm not sure. I just broke the sentence there, and started a new sentence because I think it was a run-on. Synesis error. Okay. Sometimes the consumer would purchase songs that the consumer singular, they plural. You see what I mean? Okay, and then things really get much more polished here. This is nice writing, very, very good material. Straightforward is a single word. You can, of course, it's also two separate words, but when you're using it that way, you want it that way. And when we're talking about major downfalls to this method, I thought drawbacks really works better. Okay, we have a sentence fragment here. For one to have tracks that wouldn't be that spectacular to begin with, then creating a total smash hit because of post-editing programs and techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lose myself in that sentence. It's not really a sentence. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Audio
Okay.
tuners.
What can easily be deciphered, concluded, I think work better than deciphered. Okay. During the prime of the counterculture movement, I think height works better than prime there. But indeed, that's music and melodies has. That's the subject verb mismatch there. And fathom how music. Now, fathom can be a good word, but man can only imagine and fathom. I thought speculate upon because I think that's what you meant more than fathom. Okay. And this is a nice concluding sentence. We've got a split infinitive there, which is a sort of a non-error, as you know. The wrong messages not reach the ear. This is a little bit more polished than the don't. Let's read it in context here. Because music has several different styles and messages being portrayed, that's a little lumpy. It is absolutely key that the messages don't reach the ears of those who are not ready to make their own decisions and choices. But listen to it. It is absolutely clear that the messages not reach the ears. That just raises it a little bit, and it works better than the don't. And this is something I wanted to bring up and ask you folks where you stand on it. I think you probably guess where I stand on it. The question is censorship of material for students, for kids, and so forth. Should we be censoring things? Should parents be censoring things? Or, and indeed this is one of the things I wrote up at the top, let's just look at the way it fell together. Nicely done. A possible discussion topic. To what extent should parents censor the watching and listening of their children, possibly with automatic tools? And how much time should they devote to teaching their children to discriminate for themselves? That's the big one, I think.
Well, we should have some things
Yeah.
just censored.
Okay,
It
now,
also, in my opinion, depends on what you're censoring.
Yeah.
right.
Whether it's music, TV, movies, like.
Well, one of the questions is a lot of these automatic tools, you can set them up so that they will presumably use
Censor everything.
descriptions
Yeah.
to determine what are we going to cut out
Mhm.
and what sort of things should be cut out.
You know, my mom actually has that.
Does she use it?
Yeah. And prior to that, well, we don't really have an issue, but yeah, she just has it.
Oh, it's an interesting question. I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest problems I feel, now tell me if you take issue with that, is that you're going to encounter things eventually. Doesn't it make more sense to discuss them, learn about them, be prepared to
That's
exercise
exactly
a certain
what-
amount of
that's
discrimination?
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what
what I'm
I'm
thinking.
saying.
But I think
But-
it's kind of like hard because it's you're trying to blanket the entire child population with one answer, but the parents should decipher when their child is ready to remove the censor, and until then, the parents should be the ones that are telling the child about these the actual problems in the world or
Mhm.
like bad things that happen
Yeah.
that you don't just want them to see through the internet or something.
Yeah.
So I think the parents should be able to tell the children, and at a certain point, then the children should be able to decipher themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the thing with my mom has, it just came with it. We don't really use it, but I'm thinking in terms of what the schools use for students, you know, how everything's censored on school computers. One can just go home and look it up themselves. Why would they censor it at school?
This is, I think, a major question, the censorship of
Yeah.
that's used in school. And the problem is that in the school environment, there's so much trouble trying to keep machines running,
Mhm.
trying to keep the class on topic. It's hard to pass judgment on what they're doing there, I think. On the other hand, it's easy to pass judgment on it from a homeschooler perspective. It's fairly well doomed from the outset. Anyway, I thought this was something interesting to discuss. I found, for example, this is an old program that's long before your time, I think. There was a program on television called Seventh Heaven. Did anybody ever see it?
No, but I think I know what that means.
Okay.
Wait, no, actually, no. No, never mind.
It was a program about a minister and his family. And they treated a lot of different issues. They intentionally brought up a lot of issues. And many of which my family didn't necessarily agree with them on, but the point was the issues were there. Mm-hmm. And we would watch that, and then we'd just discuss it after. Well, what are the points that they were trying to make here? Do you agree with them? Do they make sense? And that sort of thing is just so important. And indeed, and as you say, that the parent should be thinking about it, making the decisions, probably more than the school board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has to be done, though. I mean, parents have to think about it and see what really makes sense. And learning discrimination and how to deal with things that one is likely to encounter. Okay.
I mean, we all didn't grow up with censored stuff. Well, I mean, like computers uncensored, and we're able to discriminate. Can't maybe censoring also impair one's ability to discriminate correctly?
Very nicely put, and I agree entirely. I think that it really sort of postpones the encounter in a way.
Yeah.
And there's also a question of what sort of things should be censored. Mm-hmm. We look, for example, at the one we're studying, Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann version. The ones things in there that I really take issue with may not be the same things that other parents are going to take issue with.
No, you didn't put that up, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No. The one that bothers me more than anything else is the drug usage. Because according to that one, Romeo's stoned out of his mind through the balcony scene and the party. And I mean, and that's not consistent with Shakespeare.
Yeah, that's no, it's just. Well, you have an issue with it as in it's not accurate?
Well, the lack of accuracy is part of it. Also, the glorification of drug usage. And again, these things have to be in balance. The other one, the Zeffirelli version, how many people managed to see the Zeffirelli version? The one I recommended.
I believe I did. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't get a chance to yet.
If you can, it would be worth doing.
Okay.
That one was criticized because of just a tiny bit of nudity. And that was almost inevitable. Zeffirelli had to put something in. It's one that's often missing from Romeo and Juliet in general, because after all, here are these kids madly in love who just got married and just spent the night together. Some versions of this interpret them as standing out and talking to each other on a balcony all night. That really doesn't make no
And
sense.
did you put the other one up either?
I have
Which one did you put up?
I have two of them up. Neither one of them is particularly well known, and they're consistent. They're fairly well constructed. But I'd like you to see the Zeffirelli one just because I think it is much more inspired than the others. Now, did you follow all of the links I gave you for in the Romeo and Juliet page?
Yes. I also went on YouTube and looked up several versions and whatnot.
Okay, you will find one link there that will help you at least understand why the Zeffirelli version is so good and bad in a way too, because it does cut off an awful lot of dialogue. He for one thing, well, let's jump into Romeo and Juliet a little bit here and understand what's going on in it. Okay, there's the. Okay, these are little clips from the Zeffirelli version. So I'm sure you watched that, right? They're pretty. It's fairly representative of what goes on in it. Now, one of the things that Zeffirelli did, which is, I think, worthwhile, is he tried to make the characters something like the age they were supposed to be. How old are they?
I think they're teenagers. I can't remember how old.
Yeah. I'm guessing
It's
18.
It's in the text. It tells you when Paris is asking for the hand of Juliet, he's talking to Lord Capulet, asking for the hand of Juliet.
Was it 16?
Yeah, I'm thinking 16 and 18, right?
I feel like I heard 16 somewhere.
Um,
I'm not sure.
Well, it'd be interesting to know where you heard it from. But Shakespeare's words were his response to Paris's advances and questions and requests is she has not seen yet 14 summers.
So not even, so she's 13.
Oh, snaps.
So she's 13. However, at a different point, Lady Capulet is talking to Juliet and asks her, does she want to be married? And she said, she drops the line there. You remember what she says? She says, I remember I was your mother much upon these years that thou art yet a maid.
So her mother was already married by that point.
Her mother would already have had Juliet when she was 13.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So how old is Lady Capulet?
Probably in her 20s.
Yeah.
26?
26.
Right. Okay.
That's
interesting.
You can't always analyze
Runs in the
these things
family.
too far, but I gave you a series of questions here, and I know that you've all watched the play with this set of questions in front of you so that you would hit them as you came along, because I knew if I just asked you cold afterwards, you'd look at them and do much as you did in Twelfth Night. What? Where is this? Okay, so now you get a chance to look at them ahead of time. So how old is Lady Capulet? That's one of the trickiest ones in the whole thing. Very few people think about that. But it does make it very clear in the text exactly what the answer is. And even in the Zeffirelli one, she's a fairly aged virago. Okay, who is the fairy's midwife? You've seen this list, right?
No, first time.
I don't think so.
Read your agenda.
I did. I don't believe.
Okay, read your agenda. Who's the fairy's midwife? I don't think it makes any sense to go through this right now. You
Yeah,
folks?
I don't
Yeah.
think so. It's just
Okay. I've got a number of questions here. These are not who said questions. They're no. What is the herald of the morn? Who's called a princox? What trespass is sweetly urged? Does anybody know an answer to any of these?
No.
Have you watched the play?
No.
Okay, watch it with this list. Some of these may
Okay.
not be perfect. They're
I
all
will.
just from memory, but
Is this going to be a quiz next week or?
I think, wouldn't you like to have a quiz next week?
Well, now that
yeah.
since the questions are right there, I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Now that we know to study for them.
Okay,
You
the
nailed
question,
it.
the questions are right there, but I hate to take class time to waste class time on a
Yeah.
quiz. So what I'd like to be able to do next week
Just
is, of
ask.
course, against all the rules, but I'd like to say, okay, have you learned all of these? Okay, let's just give you credit for that and go on without taking the time for it, but learn them. Okay,
Okay.
this play is an amazing thing, and like all Shakespeare plays, really, it's not the plot we're talking about. I mean, the plot is significant, but the plot is not the major thing in Shakespeare. It's the language, it's the characters, it's the concepts, and so the language is really what we have to give a little bit of emphasis to. And the plot may be weak in some parts. In fact, there are some places where I think the plot is weak, and I think, for one thing, that's why Zeffirelli left a lot of it out, because it takes us off in other directions that don't really fit. There's another sword fight and battle in this one that isn't even in the Zeffirelli version. And I think he was right to leave it out. It just detracts from everything. There are other places in this one, and these you might find interesting to look for, where the dialogue becomes really bawdy. It's salacious, okay? And so look at it and see if you can understand what's going on there and see why perhaps it was taken out and what perhaps Shakespeare had in mind when he put it in, okay? Let's start at the beginning. Okay, we have this absolutely amazing play. And where is it? Oh, there we go. Okay, that wasn't the icon I was expecting for. Okay, so what's going on at the beginning of the play? Very straightforward stuff. Here we've got our dramatis personae, Aeschylus, Prince of Verona, Paris, young nobleman, Montague and Capulet battling each other. We have Romeo. Romeo is the son to Montague. Montague has an extensive house, however, and certainly a number of relatives and lots of servants. There are lots of servants in both houses, but indeed Romeo is the only son of Montague, and therefore sort of special. Mercutio is a relative of the prince, and he's a friend of Romeo. And this friendship ends up being a large part of the plot. Mercutio is concerned for Romeo's welfare. And at one point, Romeo is challenged. He is sent a challenge to fight a duel. Who by?
What was his name?
Okay,
Tybalt.
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 Tybalt's nephew, Lady Capulet. Tybalt, for various reasons that we will see, has really got it in for Romeo. It sends this challenge, but Mercutio hears of it, and Mercutio responds to this by inserting himself in there instead. And indeed, he doesn't think that Romeo is up for answering a challenge. What does he say of Romeo? Why doesn't he think Romeo is ready? Remember when he says, Romeo, Romeo is already dead. Run through the ear with the stabbed with a white wench's black eye, run through the ear with a love song. the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow boy's butt shaft.
I remember that.
Okay, who's the blind bow boy? Cupid. Right. Remember, Cupid is blind, and a butt shaft is simply a non-sharp arrow that's used for shooting birds. So cleft twain with the blind bow boy's butt shaft. And is he the one to encounter Tybalt? To which Benvolio responds, "Why? What is Tybalt?" And then Mercutio goes on to explain that Tybalt is a serious duelist. He's an expert with a sword. And so, understandably, Mercutio is concerned for Romeo, and Mercutio's concern for Romeo comes out in a number of interesting areas. And Romeo feels certainly a kinship for Mercutio, and this is indeed what fires the tragedy in the play, is that they have this battle, the street scene, which I'm sure you all remember. Please watch the Zeffirelli version. Nobody did the street scene as well as he did. And Mercutio ends up being stabbed, not directly in the fight, but because Romeo came between them, and he ends up being stabbed under Romeo's arm. And first he doesn't think it's that bad, just a scratch. But
one of the versions I watched, it was in the eye.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the eye.
What?
Yeah, like because he
They're
went
gonna-
to go
Which
hit
one
him.
was that?
I can't remember what version, but he got like with his sword in the eye. I
But
was
he says it's
Better.
yeah,
he doesn't take it seriously
it's like,
initially,
"'Tis a
and
flesh wound," or whatever.
then he realizes just not so deep as a well,
Yeah.
nor so wide as a church door, but 'tis enough, 'twill serve. Ask for me tomorrow, and you'll find me a grave man. And indeed, he dies from this wound.
To the eye.
I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking what Brian said. Got stabbed in the eye and is talking like it's nothing.
Mhm.
Now that really, I have to see how they managed to carry that one off. I don't know. Anyway, and here Mercutio falls down dead, and Romeo realizes that he was there to in a way to protect him, and Mercutio is dead, and off goes Tybalt in triumph, and so he has to do something. And so he has this amazing line. Does anybody else remember what it is?
I have to watch it.
Take back the villain that late thou gavest me. Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads, waiting for thine to keep him company. Either thou or I or both shall go with him. And then we have this battle. Romeo wins every duel he's in the story, including the one that isn't shown. And so still he ends up suffering at the end, but nothing so much as Juliet does. Juliet is really the strongest character in this play. And she goes through a horrible ordeal in a lot of different ways, and yet she manages to do it. And she also comes up with some lines which are absolutely astounding and sound so out of place in a way, coming from a 13-year-old. But then, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe she's a homeschooler. Anyway, let's start back at the beginning a little bit. One of the very important parts we've got the choir introducing things, and then we've got the street scene, the battle, and the ultimatum by the prince. What is the prince's ultimatum all about? He calls on Capulet, Montague, Capulet, you come with me. Montague, you come this afternoon. If how does he put it? Basically, if you disturb the quiet of our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit. Indeed, the prince is upset about this, but the prince ends up at the end being even more upset about not doing more. Because at the very end he says, and I, for winking at your discords, too, have lost a brace of kinsmen. What is meant by that? He's lost 2 kinsmen. One of the problems is that when Zeffirelli cut out that one sword fight, we don't have that kinsman dying anymore. He's not there.
Yeah.
But who's the other kinsman? Mercutio is a kinsman of the prince. So Mercutio is the one we're talking about. But he indeed comes to the conclusion, all are punished at the end. Anyway, I keep on jumping around. We've got the servants out on the streets battling with each other, and you have the fight, and Montague and Lady Montague comes in. Thou villain Capulet, says Montague. And the prince lays down the law here. Rebellious subjects, enemies to peace, throw your distempered weapons to the ground. And hear the sentence of your moved prince. Okay, and then Lady Montague is concerned. She's concerned about Romeo. Because Romeo's not with it. He's sort of solitary, depressed,
Moping.
despondent, moping, exactly. And then so she and Lord Montague asked Benvolio, the nephew, what is the cause? And Benvolio said, I'll find out. And so you see where he comes. So please, you step aside. I'll know his grievance or be much denied. So he stays and asks, what's good morrow, cousin? And then it's just still only 9 in the morning. Ay me, sad hours seem long. Was that my father that went hence so fast? It was. What sadness lengthens Romeo's hours? This is one of the questions I have on there. Not having that, which having makes them short. What a wonderful answer that says nothing at all.
Yeah, really.
In love, out. Out of love, out of favor where I am in love. Okay, so we've got that one. Who's he in love? Whom is he in love with?
What was her name? Oh man. What was
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Rosalind.
Rosalind? Yeah.
We don't really meet Rosalind. But what's going on with Rosalind? Well, Rosalind's not willing to enter into a relationship.
She's far younger than he is, right?
She's what?
She's far younger than he is, right?
There's no indication at all, as far as I know, how old Rosalind is.
Okay.
And presumably she's certainly nubile. And she is pictured in some interpretations, but the text doesn't really tell us much about her at all, except that she has vowed to live chaste. Now, that chastity could be just as chaste as Lady Olivia until she finds the right person. So it's hard to know what's going on there. But indeed, that's her decision. Now, he comes up with some wonderful things here. Let's see. Who is it that you love? Benvolio gets around to actually asking the big question. What, shall I groan and tell him? Oh, tell me. In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman. So I aimed so near when I supposed you loved. Okay, he's saying about as little as one can possibly say, and not being terribly forthcoming with anything. A good marksman, and she's fair, and she. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Going to skip that bit, and he's discussing her. She has decided that she will live chaste, and she is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair, to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now. Isn't that an amazing chunk of line? Remember that one, it'll be on a test. Okay, so we've established that. Now, in the actual text, there's a lot going on that's not always doesn't always make its way into films. And specifically, Benvolio decides, well, let's see if we can't do something about this. How are you going to solve this? He's already decided how to solve it a little bit earlier on there. He says, be ruled by me, forget to think of her. Now, how am I supposed to forget to think of her? I'm paraphrasing. Oh, teach me how I should forget to think. And then he says, by giving liberty unto thine eyes, examine other beauties. And then indeed, Romeo doesn't feel that he's going to fall out of love with Rosalind. He's just too stuck there. So, show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve? But as a note where I may read who passed that passing fair. Farewell, thou canst not teach me to forget. He is determined that Rosalind is the one for him. He'll look at other beauties, but he'll conclude that indeed they are all surpassed by her. So Benvolio, possibly to himself, says, I'll pay that doctrine or else die in debt. So he's determined. He's going to save Romeo from himself by introducing him to others. And then we discover that Capulet's going to have a party.
And are we going to do the thing after class?
The which?
What are we doing
Wait,
after
are we
class?
adding- aren't we
Yeah,
adding
we're
this up?
doing
I was going to
Oh, yeah.
look a little
Oh,
bit at programming. Do you want to start that early? I know some of you have today, so.
How long would it go over?
Yeah, that's
Well, I just wanted to show you the classroom so that you know how you can do things on your own.
Yeah.
We can check that out. Then.
Okay,
Alright.
one of the things also I wanted to bring up, Brian, your essay here, I thought really, what is this? Oh yeah, this is your essay. Brought up some very interesting questions about technology and music.
Mhm.
And I wrote an article on that at one point, and if you don't mind, I'm going to inflict that one upon you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listed in the agenda. and I'll
It's
check it
it's in the classroom.
out. Okay.
Stuck it in here. Let's see. I just wanted to take perhaps the very last paragraph and show that one. Where are we here? Oratory and class. It's in there
And so
somewhere.
next week, do we all bring laptops?
I think that would be nice if you can. It's not essential. I mean,
Do you
you
have a
can
laptop?
share and
Brother Sharon,
collaborate with each other.
Yeah, that's Mac. So, professional org. I
Oh,
think I
you
have
know
that
what?
on boot camp, though, but. So my-
Okay,
I
love
don't know.
laptops. Sweet.
It's
Do
really
you have a
old, though.
laptop?
Okay, here we have essay, de-skilling the orchestra. Okay, no, I'd like you to look at this and critique it, see what comments you have about what it says and how it's written.
Mhm.
But let's just look at the conclusion here. To be sure, there are many who would disparage any attempt to make the skill of playing a musical instrument into something that can be acquired with an hour or two of practice, and would disdain the music thus produced. But just as computer-guided machine tools have survived and triumphed over that opprobrium, the democratization of music production and its accessibility to those who love music but have not undergone the discipline hitherto requisite to producing it will likely prevail. Noble and nostalgic sentiment will certainly never die altogether. As long as the abacus master is appreciated and performances with period instruments continue to inspire audiences, and while traditional handicrafts continue to find markets and visitors enjoy displays of ancient linotype machines and 19th century diving equipment, these will certainly be preserved. But when it does become possible for the music lover to perform a favorite cherished work with little practice, but with far more creative and artistic latitude than ever available to the classically trained virtuoso, there will be many who will avail themselves of the opportunity and thus may very possibly raise the nuances and potentials of musical interpretation through experimentation and gradual refinement to unprecedented heights. This is the conclusion I'm drawing based on a number of points that I present earlier on. But take a look at it and see what you think. My contention there is that we've seen de-skilling working so effectively everywhere else, but for some reason we're still in the dark ages when it comes to music technical production. But you make a very good point. And one thing I felt like adding a little bit to your discussion of the technological influence is what Michael Tretto and others did in the 70s with ABBA. What they did in the mixing process was what had never been done before.
Yeah,
It was one of
first
the
of
big
its time.
things that really sold the sound. Okay, let's look at okay, this is the programming class. Now, the programming class, when you received your email from this class announcing it, it will have had all of the links in it that would allow you to find it. Home takes you to the page above the classes where you can choose which class to go into. So you can go into home from any page in the English class, for example. You go up to the top and you'll find home. You go up there and you'll see the other classes. Okay, so the assignments forum, I've created a number of assignments down below, but this is the forum where I'll post things in to go to everybody. This is all about installing Python. And it's simply a link to the Python page where you've got all of the different possible Python installations. I want to go with Python version 3, whatever subversion isn't important. 2 and 3 have gone in different directions. in that most of the existing software is written consistently with version 2 and will not run under version 3. So 2 continues to be supported, but I figure if we're going to start somewhere, we might as well start with version 3.
Now, I noticed we're doing it around this time next week, right?
That was my intent, yes.
Will it be like that for the rest of the year?
It was my intent. What is your alternative suggestion?
How long would it be?
Yeah, like how many classes would there be?
No, well, and the duration.
Well, I was intending to just do the whole semester.
And the duration.
I was thinking an hour, but can be made shorter if necessary. And how many of you might be able to come earlier to this class? That doesn't fit anybody's schedule.
Me. I can come earlier. I mean,
If I switch classes up, maybe I can.
The only reason I ask is that this room does seem to be empty that half hour.
Okay.
But, anyway, we can figure it out.
Yeah,
And
but-
also, this is the kind of thing that you can work on your own
Mhm.
at home, and we can even confer online. But anyway, installing Python, we want to get it up and going very, very simple. And when we do run Python, we end up with, in the idle editor, that's what the editor is called, idle, which is actually named for Eric Idle. And what I would want to do there, I thought actually that I had this other one running at the same time. I guess not. So I'm going to run idle. And it's very simple and straightforward to use. And what I experimented, here it is, we're up and going. I experimented here also and found that I can take, let's go into this one, for example, and open up a posting or this, I've simply put the program here in, and it looks like it may be sort of complicated, but this is actually fairly straightforward. Most of the material in it is just explanation. And I can just cut that out and pop over here and file, new file, and paste it in. And we have it ready to go.
Mhm.
And so here, if I run it, it will insist that I save it first. So I'm doing run module, save it, okay to save. And here we can just call it anything we feel like. If you give it a .py extension, then when you've saved it, you can run it anywhere. Just save it on your disk and refer to it, and you can run the program, and you've added to the programs available on your system. And this is the Turtle Graphics package. There's not much to this program. In fact, I can show you how it works. This is sort of my first program in Turtle Graphics. It's a, there was a language long ago, still exists, I suppose, called Logo, which was entirely based on this kind of graphics. You have a turtle, is what they call it, on the screen. You tell it where it is, tell it, put the pen down, go a certain distance, lift the pen, turn around, whatever you want it to do, and you can write a program that will make it do that. The code for running this thing is fairly straightforward. If we go in here, we will see how it's done. And so I just wanted to show you that the environment itself is just so simple. I'm going to right now just push the return key, and it stopped running the program. And we can, in this interactive environment, actually tell it to do all kinds of interesting things, and it does them immediately. We don't have to write a program in order to test things. It responds instantly, so you can find out exactly what is going to happen when you put certain things together, and that makes it much easier for writing the program itself. My biggest problem, I think, is I type very comfortably on a keyboard, but not on a laptop keyboard.
Yeah.
We will see if I can improve on that enough to actually, yes.
Will we need to have Python installed and set up prior to next week's class?
Not necessarily, but I appreciate it if you could give it a try. It shouldn't be a big problem. What version of, what operating
Windows
system
10.
are you running?
Windows 10.
Okay, so go ahead and simply install the newest version of 3, which I think is 3.5.1.
Okay. And we don't need internet for this, right?
Well, in order to install it, you're going to get it off the
Yeah.
internet.
Uh-huh.
In order
course.
to access the classroom, you're going to need the internet. In order to
Yes.
run programs, you don't.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've run you over a little bit, but at least I got a chance to show you what's going on here a little bit. I think you'll find it a lot of fun, and it's easy to put things together in Python. One of the things I want to emphasize is we're not going to be learning Python. We're going to be learning how to program. And so I'll be using syntax, in other words, the language constructions, pretty much those that are universally used in all of the other languages as well. Now, Python programmers look at that with disdain and say, you're not writing Pythonic code. Yes, there are 2 adjectives for Python. Pythonesque means having to do with Monty Python. Pythonic has to do with writing Python code. And indeed, we won't be writing Pythonic code because if we stick with the standard, we're going to be writing code that is pretty much transferable and portable to other languages, that you'd be able to write something very similar in BASIC or C or Pascal or PHP.
I'm not grasping the whole this idea of code. I'll find out next week.
I'm sorry. I'm leaping ahead of things. I apologize. I will backspace a little bit and work a little bit, trying to explain how that works. Let's just give it a little bit of perspective. You have, through much of your lives, been using the computer and running programs that are expecting you to do what they want. Now you get to make them. And you can make them do what you want, and you can put them together so that other people can use them. When you run around the internet and the internet tells you, type in this following thing here, that's in order to prove that you're not a robot. Well, now you'd be able to write those robots if you want to. And we'll be able to do graphics. We'll be able to do sound manipulation.
Nice.
I think I'd like to do a fair amount of just basic standard mathematical things because that'll help you out in other ways too.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm just curious, does Friday work for anybody? Friday?
I don't know. I think so.
I can't come on Fridays.
What?
I think I have something in mind, but that's it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for the time being, I'm going to try to aim at this hour. And if it doesn't work, I will be able to broadcast the thing online. We can go ahead and do it that way and work at home. It shouldn't be that hard to do. But I hate to leave anybody out.
No, I'm actually pretty fine until 5:30.
Well, that would work very nicely here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
it's 4. We could
So
easily.
we're gonna
Yeah,
Turn
we
on
can
the-
easily do it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
turn these in.
or just
Yes, these.
What?
Oh, this is the
Just
test.
both of them.
Okay, that's
on
your
mine,
test
so I
from the
just rate
previous
my
one and
score.
this one, and your names are on it. Okay, great.
Wait. Do you need the other one as well?
Well, And I wanted to give you all credit for last week, and I made the mistake of not collecting your tests. That's why I said in the agenda, please bring your tests so that I can give you credit.
I have notes on mine as well, and I kind of want to just save it because it's my whole
12
note
for
folder. So can I just
today.
tell you the score, write it down in separate?
Okay, okay.
I don't have mine last week with me, but my notes.
Boy, this is becoming complicated. Okay. I'm going to bring the class to an end now.
Okay.
Let's see.
I
This end of the college prep English class.